Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Part 5 Vedas. Vedas are endless. Vedas are not only without a start, that is Anadi, but they are endless too, that is Anant. All creations, including the past, present, and future, potential creations, have been and are already present in the universe of sound. So, it must be hugely vast. However big the Vedas may be, one may wonder if all the businesses of the world are covered by the Veda mantras. Come to think of it, the number and quantity of Vedas we have so far received are only limited. What is said in the Vedas itself is that there is no end to the Vedas and their number. It says Ananta Vai Veda. Of the four Vedas, only some 1,000 branches or shakas are known as yet. Brahma, who created the world, knew all the Vedas. Before him was a Mahapralaya, that is total deluge and floods. Before that, there was another Brahma, and so on. The breath vibrations of Paramatma that first instilled the motivation for creation in Brahma continue even after many pralayas. After every pralaya, the new Brahma, again using these sounds, again creates the next Srishti. Even the sounds we create do not die. What Jesus Christ spoke 2000 years before can be reheard and recorded in his voice Sesam. I remember that I read somewhere about this. I do not know what happened to the effort. The possibility is still there. All that we can gather now is the idea that a sound made once remains in the sky or akasha forever in the space. Thus, after every Mahapralaya, every new Brahma using the sounds of Veda recreates the world. Using stones, sand, wood and iron or steel, we raise a new city, don't we? But even after Pralaya, these things were there in one's mind. That mind and its breath were in harmony. From the vibrations of its breath, all the things could be recreated. Even in day-to-day life, we can see the direct correlation between thought and action leading to construction or destruction. Thought is also a movement, a vibration. I hope you see the connection. Often we read about how certain sound vibrations, music, can enhance the growth and yields of some plants. It is quite clear that Srishti, Sthiti and Samhara, that is creation, maintenance and destruction, annulment, are all directly controllable by sound vibrations. By the power of Brahma's tapas, he could create the whole world. We say the Panchakshara mantra of Namah Shivaya every day. But when a Siddha says the same mantra and applies Vibhuti, diseases get cured. The difference is in the power of concentration. That too, when the mantra is chanted without the slightest of aberration, the power of the mantra enhances. Since Brahma came into being as an instrument for creation, his efficiency was perfect. Many things are achieved by electricity that comes out of space. Similarly, all the power needed comes from that clean, perfect potential of Suddha Chaitanya. During the period of Pralaya, that will be asleep like a sleeping giant whose power will be seen only in action. Brahma himself comes into being out of the very force of creation as the perfect vehicle for further creation. Vedas are countless and creation is also many-sided and multidimensional. Bharadwaja Maharshi did Veda Adhyayana for 3 lifetimes. Parameshwara appeared before him. He asked him, I will give you another lifetime. What will you do with it? Maybe there was a tinge of pride in Bharadwaj, but that does not dilute his sincerity of purpose when he replied, I will use that lifetime also for Veda Adhyanam only. Parameshwara created 3 huge mountains. Then he took hold of a handful of earth and told Bharadwaja Rishi, what you have learnt of the Vedas in the years of your 3 lifetime are as big as this handful of earth. What is not yet known to you is as vast as these 3 mountains. Tirukazhukundram near Chennai on the east coast is said to be those mountains called Vedagiri. When I went there and did Giri Pradakshinam, those accompanying me chanted Deva 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 Mahadeva. I corrected them to say Veda 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 Mahaveda. This story of Bharadwaja Rishi is there in Veda itself in Katakam. So, it is clear that Vedas are countless. 4 Vedas with 1,000 branches is all that we have available to us after Vedavyasa's time. When Brahma came into being, in his heart all the Veda mantras appeared. They showed him the way for creation. He knew that the sounds of the Vedas exist everywhere. Rishis could identify or recognize only some of the mantras. That is what is available to us now. We mention the Rishi, Chandas and Devata for some of the mantras. In Telugu Desham, there is a system and practice to do this for every mantra. Since we got the mantras through them, and it is they who could have the divine ears to tune into the mantras, it is but natural that we should be beholden to them. Patanjali Yoga Shastra says that when the Mahat Akasa of the cosmic existence and the Manas Akasha of individual existence mesh and become one, you can see all that is in the macro in the micro. Then you can tune into every one of the mantras. When the individual raises or expands himself or herself to such universal levels, this becomes possible. By revealing the existing, they have immensely benefited the humanity. Say your mother is breathing her last. At that moment, the neighbor arrives from North India with a bottle of Ganga Jal and says, give some of it to your mother. Think of how full of gratitude you would be. Exactly similarly, we are thankful to the great Maharishis who were responsible for hearing the mantras which are inaudible for the common man's ears and giving it to the humanity as a whole. We say his name and touch our head, thereby to mean that we are touching the Rishi's feet to our head. By doing this, we are benefited and it makes no difference to the Rishi. Vedas are without a start. They are without end. They are not man-made. I do hope that I have been able to make these points somewhat clear in your minds by what I have been saying all this time. Vedas, Mantra Yoga and Mantra Siddhi. There is one empire of 14 worlds with an emperor. For that Chakravarti, all life forms are citizens. The empire is also Anadi and so is the emperor eternal. When you have an empire, emperor and citizens, you have to have laws of governance also. When everything else in that empire is Anadi, so should the law be Anadi. That law is the Veda. Only difference is that the Anadi empire of 14 worlds is temporarily permanent, going through the cycle of creation, sustenance and growth, followed by dissolution. The world comes into being, grows, gets dissolved, again comes into being, grows, gets dissolved. The cycle goes on and on. The emperor and the law of governance are of ever. At the beginning of each cycle, the emperor creates the empowered bureaucracy and runs the whole show. Yoga Shastra talks of a state of equanimity between the physical ear with its auditory capabilities and the cosmic akasha. At that moment, the static noise of the cosmos becomes readable, audible, and discernible sounds. The God made bureaucracy thus becomes the first to read and understand the Veda sounds. For example, for Pranava Mantra, Parabrahma is the Rishi. Veda Adhyayana itself is a mantra yoga. You see, the moment anyone utters a single mantra of Veda in trying to start the process of what is Adhyayana, in that instant there is a meeting of the individual's mind with a mantra. However infinitesimal the meeting may be, there is a meeting. We know that arterial blood flow can be discerned by bare hands by touching suitable places in the body. This is indicative of pulses of heartbeat, blood pressure, whether there is fever or not, and so on. This touching of the arterial flow used to be known as to check the nadi. This also has correlation with the distribution of fresh air to the various parts of the body. These movements of the blood and air have a direct effect on the mind and vice versa. That is to say that vibrations in the nadi affects feelings of anger, hate, etc. And in turn, feelings and mental attitudes affect the vibrations in the nadi. These are practically seen in day-to-day life. If you are calm and cool, there is a corresponding pleasantness of face evident. That is why there is a Tamil proverb which says, Agathin Alagu Mugathil Theriyum. Though through pranayama of Raja Yoga, these nadi pulses can be so controlled as to avoid all the unnecessary feelings, attitudes, and behavior. So, all the happiness and peace can be enjoyed without any dependence on the state of affairs in the material world. For this, if Raja Yoga is a path, so is Mantra Yoga another route. When we chant a mantra, the sound is created by the air of our breath, the actual sound originating in Mooladhara or the lower tip of the spinal cord, Swadhisthana or lower abdomen, Manipuraka or the navel umbilicus, Anahata or the heart, Vishuddhi or the throat, passing through the throat, touching the tongue, upper and lower lips, is heard as the sound. So, this sound of the akshara in turn causes those nadis of those parts of the body to resonate, thereby affecting the state of the person's mind accordingly. Veda mantras are so formed as to avoid unwanted reactions of the mind, retaining only those that are beneficial for individual, society, all life forms, and the whole world. The definition of a mantra is mananat trayate iti mantra, meaning that which protects by practice the duty of all Brahmins, that is Ekavedi or Dvivedi or Trivedi or Chaturvedi, is to keep chanting the Vedas so as to benefit himself and the world at large. Siksha Shastra tells us as to how this chanting is to be done and how it is not to be done. There is a shloka about this as Giti Sikri Siraha Kambi तथा लिखितपाठकः अनर्थज्ञः हि अल्पकण्ठश्च षडैते पाठकादमाः. Meaning of the above shloka is as follows. There are 6 types of things forbidden in chanting Vedas. They are Giti, that is singing the Veda mantras in self-styled tunes is not to be done. It has to be chanted only in its own fixed Udattam, Anudattam, Swaritam pronunciation as taught by the Adhyapaka. Next, don't is Sigri. You cannot speed up Veda pronunciation. While teaching or practicing, just because you have to catch up a bus or a train or even a plane, it is just not done. The efficiency of Vedas is adversely affected both by speeding up and slowing down. Another not to be done is Sira Kampi. Shaking your head or body is not to be done. You have to sit in Padmasana or Sukhasana with total attentiveness, as otherwise any movement of the body or head will adversely affect the response of the nadis to the sounds of the mantras. Likita Pataka is the one who writes the Vedas down and reads from there. This is wrong. Vedas are to be heard and chanted. This I have elaborated in my earlier talks. Last point is about understanding the meaning of the mantras being chanted. The meaning of Anarthagna is the one who does not understand or misunderstands. Veda mantras should be understood and chanted. The last one is the not to be done list is Alpakandan. When we chant the Vedas, it should be a full-throated recital and not a mumbling whisper. Veda mantras benefit by suitable responses in the vibrations of the nadi of not only the individual chanting but all those who are listening. To spread the sounds of the Vedas as much as possible in the atmosphere should be the aim. So, these 6 rules should be adhered to when chanting the Vedas so as to reap the benefits optimally. Usefulness of sound and meaning. A point about Anarthagna. Like Manika Vasagar says in Shiva Puranam, Cholliya Pattin Porul Unarndu Cholluvar, meaning that when we chant the mantra understanding the meaning of what is said, the effect and effectiveness is more. Here an opposite idea occurred to me. I share it with you in a lighter vein. In the Sanskrit language, if you say something and then add a suffix tharam, it is better than the previous. Viryavat means powerful. Viryavat tharam means more powerful. In Chandogya Upanishad 1.1.10, it says that those who chant the Onkara Pranava mantra, knowing the meaning, they get the effect which is Viryavat tharam. So this means that those who chant it not knowing the meaning are getting powerful effects. That is Viryavat anyhow. Adi Shankara in his Bhashyam has said that even when chanted without knowing the meaning, there is quite a good effect of the Pranava mantra. Because even while not knowing the meaning, the attitude that my elders have told me and so I will do it and chant the mantra is better than knowing the meaning and chanting. This attitude itself is more beneficial than all the intellectual expertise. Especially in the case of Veda Ucharanam, the beneficial effects of the correct pronunciation and the resultant resonance of the nadi of the person chanting and those listening in is more important. The sound effect is more immediate than the secondary effect of knowing the meaning. I would go one step beyond and say that not knowing the meaning is even better than knowing. Say there is a collector. He receives a letter from an unread rustic who is a farmer requesting some favor. He tells the collector, I do not know what is written here, sir. I told someone to write it on my behalf, but the problem is like this. Then he submits the application, explaining his position in a few words. The collector is likely to look at the application favorably. You may end up antagonizing the collector if you put up a cogent case through the help of a lawyer. Nowadays, when headweight, pride, and misuse of powers are on the increase, humbleness and humility seems very hard to find. I am just loudly thinking that maybe trust and faith are more important than intellectual understanding of mantras. The greatness of Vedas. Veda is without an origin or end. It is not man made. It is the starting point for all creations. Is that all its greatness? There are many more attributes of greatness about Vedas. Its sound causes resonance in the human being as well as in the atmosphere, benefiting all living things and the worlds. Not only are the human beings the beneficiaries, but also all living things. Nowhere else, that is in no other religious text, such sentiments expressed such as Loka samastha sukhino bhavantu, Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu, inclusive of Te dvipat chatuspat, meaning thereby, let all the world be comfortable, let all people be comfortable, going on to include two-legged animals and four-legged animals, grass, weeds, trees, mountains, rivers, sun, moon, and stars, praying for the well-being of the whole universe. All this is not only wished for, but happens by the special sounds of the Vedas. Vedas also deserve admiration and respect not only for the special sound effects, but also for the superior thought processes unthinkable by other religions. Broad-minded, unparochial intellectuals of any country and any religion are uniformly awestruck at the enormity of the greatness of thoughts, literary fineness of expressions, the beauty and delicateness in handling social life situations, high religious principles, moral advices of eternal values, scientific views and concepts yet to be fathomed, deciphered, or even comprehended, and so on. There is no end to the Vedas or its greatness either. The mantras, since they have vibratory sound effect, they do not have to have any sensible meaning. In day-to-day life, do we not enjoy raga alapana without a word or meaning? Does not the sound effect of the raga itself suffice? Scientific experiments have proved that instrumental music could increase the yield potential of fruit and flower plants. This is proof of the creative power of sound. It also proves that words and meanings are language specific, while sound is far above in order of effectiveness. The added value of the Vedas is that not only does it have superior sound effects, but its words too have refinement and nobility of thoughts. In Tamil, there are some wonderful stotras or prayer songs. Those songs are capable of bringing tears to your eyes and melt your hearts. But only some of these songs come to be chanted repeatedly, like the Tirumurugarapadai or Irumaluroga. In Tirupugal for getting rid of diseases, or the Malai Vettal Padigam of Thaivaram for praying for rains, and so on. There may be more heart-rending songs by those authors, but only some of them get more often repeated because of the power of the sounds, which raises them from the level of songs to mantras. It is the same Adi Shankara who is the author for both Saundarya Lahari and Shivananda Lahari, but the latter does not have the impact of Saundarya Lahari, whose each and every song has the mantra shakti or power. These are meaningless mantras. There are meaningless mantras of pure sounds. There are shlokas of very intricate meaningfulness of no mantra power. But the greatness of the Veda mantras is that they are very high in the order of mantra power as well as meaningfulness. Say, there is a medicine which is bitter but very effective in its power to cure. There is another one of good taste but not very good as a medicine. But Kushmanda Lehiam is very nice tasting and is also good as medicine, as a diet supplement for convalescence. Veda is like that. It has the mantra power as well as being high in esoteric philosophical values. Once again, there are portions of the Vedas purely devoted to the worldly endeavor and portions going beyond the humdrum monotony of common aspirations. It has advices to individually take care of the single person, successively raise his or her attitude and behavior with the immediate kith and kin to various social levels, from the micro to the macro, as an individual part of a family, part of a village, part of a community, rights and duties towards self, others, nation, and humanity as a whole. Not even that, his duties towards all living things and life as such is deliberated upon at length. It covers at length as to what should be our behavior be as a son, as a father, as a husband, as a woman, as a citizen, as a householder, as a shopkeeper, as a minister, as a king, and so on and so on. Vedas are the highest book of law. Vedas, Yagam or Yagyam. There is one more important attribute of Veda unmatched elsewhere. That is what is known as Yaga or Yagyam or Velvi, offering oblations to the deities through the medium of fire. The action of offering various things to please the Devatas while chanting the necessary mantra is Yagyam. Yagam or Yagyam is from the root word yaj. Actually, those who know write it as yajyam to yaj is to pray. A feeling of a sense of gratitude towards God and his ministry of Devatas is the undercurrent in the action of devotion that is known as yagam or yajyam. The definition of mantra is mannat trayate iti mantra. That is, what saves when repeated mentally. Trayate means that which saves. You may have become familiar with this word Tranam from the Bhagavad Gita shlokam Paritranaya sadhunam. Mananam is repeating mentally. You do not have to say it loud even. Enough to simply go through the chanting of the mantra mentally. All that I have explained earlier about the resonating effect on the nadis still take place. If you chant it loudly, anyhow it benefits even those who do not understand even a word of what you are saying. It gives the hearer so much satisfaction and pleasure, and it has the power to affect the very atmosphere salubriously. Now, these mantras, when combined with karma of yagam or yajna, then there is involved participation of mind, body, and intellect, with action and speech, that is involving mano, vak and kayam. Vedas not in other religions. Yagnam or Velvi in principle and practice is not to be found in any other religion. Our religion is known as Vedika Matam because it has the Vedas as the basic tenets. This Vedika Matam differs from all other religions on one major factor. In Christianity and Islam, all followers of the religion venerate and pray to one God. In the Vedic religion too, it says that there is only one God who is also the Jivan or the individual soul. But that one God can be comprehended and understood only by some of the followers of the religion adopting the Jnana Marg through the process of Atma Vichara or self analysis and realization, for which a very high level of maturity is required. When we become so completely identified with that one God, then the whole world becomes null and void. To attain to that level of maturity and ripeness, the only way that we can raise ourselves is to prepare ourselves continuously while still involved in day to day life. Conduct one's own life most judicially with the highest moral standards to one's own satisfaction and approval, doing all our duties as laid continuously, cleansing our own minds, continuing the process till all the karma drops off automatically. The most important karma in the process of continuous self-ennoblement is this velvi or yagam. Instead of offering oblations to only one God, here it is offered to every one of his office bearers or bureaucracy. This unique system is prevalent only in this Vedic religion of ours and none else. It is not there in Christianity or Islam. Buddhism does not even recognize the existence of any God. So the question of offering oblations to God or deities does not arise. In Yajna, many materials are dropped in the fire after the chanting of the necessary mantras. This is known as homam. Though put in fire, all the materials are not being offered to the Agni Bhagwan. Only those items as being specifically offered to Agni go to him. Rest of the items go to those respective gods such as Rudra, Varuna, Indra, Vishnu, Matriswan, Soman and so many others also receive their shares of offerings through the fire. Do we not put all mails addressed to various people in the same post box? The havis meant for various deities should be offered in the same fire of homam. The biggest difference between this and other religions is that in the Vedic Matam, instead of restricting the devotionary process to only the God, through the fire we offer oblations to all the devas in God's creation. Devas are a set of deities variously empowered to carry out the appointed duties, something like the bureaucracy in God's government. Do we not say that if we serve each other, God is pleased? Even those who have stopped believing in God accept the high ideals of social service. In every language, there are proverbs to say to serve man is to serve God. Similarly, to serve the Devatas through homam is to serve God only. Vedas emphasize repeatedly that all that exists in one God only, and that one God is also all the different things, materials, living things, human beings, and also deities and devatas. While talking in praise of each God, whether it is Soma or Varuna or Vayu, that particular deity is praised as Paramatma. So it is still monotheism only. Just because Vedas talk of many devatas, it does not become polytheism. All these are his officers, so to say. What we call as nature is, after all, a conglomeration of many systems and subsystems, all of which have to have intelligent reporting systems, feedbacks, sensors, and corrective mechanisms. All this cannot be left to inanimate objects but entrusted to sentient beings. Those are the Devatas. As we have been created, they have also been created. He himself became us and everything else too, says Advaitam. So also he became these Devatas too. Till we attain to understanding these principles of Advaitam, we have to think of ourselves as separate individuals and continue being devoted to all the Devatas as well as the one and only God. Thinking of each Devata as separate, we have to offer each his or her part of the share of the Ahuti as ordained by the Vedas. As per God's orders, we have to pray to all the gods for their kindness and blessings and keep them pleased. Once we have attained to Jnanam or total comprehension in all our understanding and humility, we are not bound by the requirements of karma anymore. Till we have reached that level of comprehension, we are in the Dvaita Prapancham and our efforts towards realization has to continue, which includes upasana of devatas through the ahuti in yagas or velvi. Om Shri Mahaperiva Sharanam.